Bearded dragons are one of the most popular, if not the most popular reptile in the reptile trade. Yet I haven't seen a care guide that really answered some of my main questions when I was interested in getting one. So that's why I'm here to give you the complete bearded dragon care guide in under 5 minutes. Hopefully. But with that said, let's get into it. We will be going through food, lighting, humidity, their diet, that is food, where they originate so you can get a sense of their habitat, all that good stuff. Everything you'll need to know before getting a bearded dragon. Okay, so bearded dragons are from Australia, and you'll usually find them basking on fence posts or on trees. They'll like to go as high as they can so they can get the vitamins from the sun and the heat so they can digest their food. And no, their habitat is not sandy. Don't use sand in your enclosure to make it more naturalistic. Don't, it's not good, and I'll get into that later. Now the foods they eat. Their vegetables consist of kale, collard greens, dandelion greens, and you can throw in some sliced up carrots every once in a while. They have a good source of vitamin C. They can have cucumbers, but only if you cut off the skin. Now if you are considering getting a bearded dragon, I'm assuming you know that they're omnivorous, which means they don't only eat plants. They're going to be getting their protein and their muscles from mainly insects. Insects that you should feed your bearded dragon daily consist of dubia roaches, crickets, and superworms. Now I heard that bearded dragons can't digest mealworms that good. I use them a little bit, but just to be safe, don't use them too often, just occasionally. But then again, some people say they're perfectly fine, so it's up to you really. The key is really just a variety of foods that will be the most enriching for your bearded dragon. I'll just show you a photo of all the vegetables it can eat for the sake of time. Now one thing I don't see other care guides do is say how much to feed. I personally give my bearded dragons 5 to 7 dubia roaches every day, give or take, along with their other foods. I switch between superworms and dubia roaches mainly. Every other day I switch. Remember, don't feed your bearded dragon a roach, or really any other insect that's bigger than the width between their eyes, because if it's any bigger, they could have a hard time digesting it and they could end up dying. Now keep in mind that my bearded dragon is an adult. I don't really know the exact age of her, but she's not a baby by any means, but I'll cover that in another video. So for babies, you're going to want to feed them obviously smaller roaches, but don't forget crickets. They eat a ton of crickets, and I mean a ton. They will also eat multiple times a day, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, a few hours in between the meals, because as they're babies, they're going to need more food and more nutrients to grow up, like in the first year of their life. Don't forget to sprinkle calcium powder and vitamin supplements on your bearded dragon's food, both the insects and the vegetables. It'll help their bones develop correctly and will just be overall just healthier for them. As adults, you're going to be feeding them every day or every other day, and that means you're gonna have to clean up their cage every day or every other day. For the lighting, you want a 75 watt heat bulb that you can get at your local pet store, assuming that the distance from the bulb to the animal is no less than a foot, and no more. That will get you around 90 to 100 degrees, which is the right temperature for your bearded dragon. They will also need a UVB light to make sure their bones grow as they should, and that also ties into the calcium supplements. If you don't, there's a high chance they can get MBD or metabolic bone disease, which basically just means their legs or their arms get locked in a certain position forever and they can't move it. And you can assume that's pretty painful. It can even get to the point where they can die from it, and nobody wants that. So all you have to do is just make sure you're giving them what they need. Yeah, so you'll want to take care of them correctly because their limbs can get stuck in pretty painful positions. They don't look good. You don't want to do that to them. For humidity, you want to be fairly low, with 30% humidity to be the lowest and 45 to be the highest. When they're in shed, you want to mist them every day. You want to give them baths every other day, but otherwise just give them a bath every month or every 2 months just to make sure they're hydrated. For enclosure size, as adults, the minimum is a 40 gallon. I personally use a 40 gallon, but I take her out daily to play, and while she doesn't really move much, she just stays on her hammock all day, and that's good. She can get all the sun she needs. Not sun, light, heat, yeah. You'll want a decently large water bowl so you can soak in it or get a drink if they want. And obviously a food bowl too. Oh, and you'll want to switch out the water bowl daily. I suggest some toys, decor, some rocks, so your bearded dragon doesn't get bored. You'll also want something that your bearded dragon can climb up onto to get closer to the heat lamp if they need to get hotter or not. Like I said earlier, I have a hammock and that works just fine. You can get that at the pet store. Oh, and I forgot to mention that you'll want a cool side of the enclosure to that 70 to 75 degrees so they can thermoregulate properly. If they're too hot, they can go to the cold side. If they're too cold, they can go to the hot side. I highly recommend using tile for your bearded dragon substrate. I use it, it's so much easier. First of all, it's so much easier to clean. I can't stress that enough. And if you add sand, It's harder to clean, first of all, and another major issue is if they eat some of it, they can get impaction, and they can end up dying from that because they just get stuck in their digestive tract and they can't digest it. You can also use reptile carpet. I used it a little bit, but it's just too dirty. It's too much of a hassle to clean. So just use tile. You want a hide or two so they can hide. I personally don't really use hides. I did for a little bit, but she doesn't like it. She would just sit on top of it. She just sit on her hammock. That's all she really needs. What are you doing? Like that? Now I'm pretty sure that's everything. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me in the comments. Oh, and everything here that I listed can be bought at the local pet store. So with saying all that, is a bearded dragon worth it? Yeah, it totally is worth it. It's so cool to just watch them eat, to interact with them. They all have amazing personalities. They're not evil, but then you can easily tame them as well. I might do a video about that later. They're just really fun. I don't know why you wouldn't want one. It's just plain cool. Now my goal is to inform you guys with what I know about owning reptiles, my personal experiences, and hopefully providing you some entertainment. So please consider subscribing and liking, and please tell me if I forgot anything, because I don't want to just forget something. I probably did. This is Ghidorah, I'm the Reptile Guy, and thanks for watching.